Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Kristen and I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. So for today's build, we are in San Sequoia and I am building a starter home for a family of 4. And this starter home happens to be under 20k simoleons. One thing that I typically do with starter homes, if I have a family in there, is make however many sims I want to be in the house, and then whatever simoleons they start out with is the limit I have to make the build. However, I feel like that kind of doesn't make it a true starter home in a sense. I mean, if it's under 24k simoleons, then you would have to have the 4 sims to live here. So I wanted to do something a little bit different and have a starter home that is actually under 20k simoleons. So if you only have 1 sim, 2 sims, then you could still buy this starter home for a family if you're planning on starting a family relatively soon, but you don't want to start it right out of CAS. Or maybe even you have a single sim that you want to stay single, which, you know, all props to that sim. No one's judging. And you just want like a 3-bedroom starter home, then this is perfect for you as well. And of course, just like all of my builds, this is available to download on the gallery, and my gallery is linked down below as well as on my main profile. And if you are blind like me and you still cannot find it, then it is literally just the Clumsy Simmer, no spaces, exactly the same as my name here on YouTube. So with all of that being said, if you enjoy this video in any way, shape, or form, then please subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and leave a like on this video as well. I would really appreciate it. And let's go ahead and get straight into today's build. As far as the exterior goes for this build, it is pretty similar to other starter homes that I have done as far as like the shape goes, and it's pretty craftsman style. I tried to make it match the surroundings in San Sequoia, and I mean, I think I did a pretty good job. I think the exterior turned out pretty cute, and you will see me change the color of this house many times before we finally get to the finished product. The finished color ends up being a yellow, but I changed it from green to blue to brown to gray, back to yellow again. So yes, just be patient when it comes to the coloring of the exterior walls. And I also do pretty minimal landscaping in this build. I mean, at least minimal for me. I typically go overboard with the landscaping, especially if I do a starter home, because, you know, you're limited on funds when it comes to starter homes as it is. And so when I get into the debug catalog and I'm just going through it and finding landscaping for a starter home, I just go overboard. I like to pack it up and make it look as full as possible. And so that is something I almost did on this build. You guys will see it in the end. I load up the landscaping, but it looked off. It didn't look like it matched with the house. And so I ended up deleting quite a bit of it, other than the landscaping in the backyard. The backyard's pretty full still, just because it looked so empty and sad. It needed something. But the front yard, I feel like it looked better as minimal as possible. And so I will get more into that later in the build when we're doing the landscaping. Right now we are just trying to figure out like the floor plan and the windows and the doors and all of that good stuff. But yes, like I was saying, I almost went overboard with that landscaping, but yes, I stopped myself. And I'm glad that I did, because it ended up looking really good. I just got like my favorite bushes. I still don't know the name of these bushes, but they're my favorite ones. I mean, they're like the basic bushes in base game. I feel like they're almost everyone's favorite bushes. And here I am just pulling out some landscaping. I definitely don't do all of the landscaping. I just kind of like pull out the trees and get the look of the house, you know, before I actually dig in, if that makes sense. And another thing to note is that this is not a limited pack whatsoever. I kind of went crazy on the packs, but by the time I finished this and I looked, I think I only used like 10 to 15 packs, which, okay, let's be honest, that is a lot of packs, but it's not like as many packs as I've used before. I mean, I have used almost every single pack in a build before, so with that being said, I guess it's not too bad. I mean, I've done worse. And here are my favorite bushes. Does anybody know the name of these bushes? If you do, please tell me down below in the comments so that I can also know the name of these bushes and I just don't have to call them my favorite bushes anymore. Well, I will always say they're my favorite, but I would like to know the actual name of the bushes. I literally could go into the game and look it up myself, but for some reason that just seems too difficult. So yeah, if you know the name of these bushes, please tell me. Thank you very much. But yeah, they are just really good bushes. There's something about them that just, I don't know, they fill up the space really good. They're sized down relatively small right now. I like when they're not the size they come in. I feel like they're a little too big, but sized down one time is the perfect shape. But you can't place them in small little areas, and so that's the only bad thing about them. So I have to resort to other bushes sometimes, but when I'm able to use these bushes, I am so happy. We are now inside of our build doing the floor plan, and I was able to fit 3 bedrooms in this house and 1 bathroom, and that's pretty good for a starter home, and I was actually able to furnish it pretty good. I mean, obviously it's not as cluttered as a lot of my builds, but for a starter home, I don't know, there's a lot of decorations for a starter home. Like, let me pat myself on the back right now. I'm like proud of myself. No, but really, it did turn out really good. I think this is a very cute starter home. Definitely a starter home that I would love to play in. And I absolutely love using those big half oval windows. There's something about them that adds like an extra detail to a room, and they make them look so good. And so I use them as much as possible. I used to find it very hard to be able to use those windows, but lately, I don't know, I've figured it out. It really just takes some trial and error to figure some stuff out when it comes to building, and that is what happened with that window for me anyways. Typically I put it on, if it's 1-story house, it's obviously on the bottom story, the first story, you know, it's literally only a 1-story house. Where else can it go? But if I have a 2-story house, then I typically put it at the top. And actually a past build that I've done, I posted a couple weeks ago on my channel, I put that window above the front door, and it almost looked like it was one like item, and it looked so good. I can't wait to try to do that again. And for the 1st-story builds, then I typically just do it like in the front, and then I put like a gabled roof above it, and so the window blends in with the roof in a way, you know? So something else you will notice as I am building this house, I am using some of the cheapest stuff in the game. Like that bedroom, that's the parents' bedroom with that cheap used bed in there from City Living. Yeah, that is what they get. They are the type of parents that will give their kids things over them. So that is why the parents are stuck with that cheap used bed. But honestly, at least that cheap used bed has some pretty cute swatches, so I'm really not mad at it. And then that rug that I just placed under the dining table, that is actually from Nifty Knitting, I believe, and it is free. I absolutely love that. I hope they never change that because I like to use that in my starter homes. It definitely helps. And I also use that flooring. I think that flooring is from For Rent, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And that is probably like one of my favorite tiles in the game now, especially that blue swatch. It's just so pretty and it livens up a room. And if you are building a starter home and you don't have a lot of money for like a lot of rugs and other like stuff to put on the floor, then that tile is perfect because it's super busy, so you don't need much to complement it. This starter home also has that very cheap television that is from Eco Lifestyle. Yes, it is a television that people pull out of the dumpster. And it's only like 25 simoleons or something like that. It's very cheap, but it's better than no television at all. And of course, if you download this house and you have more than one Sim that lives here, then you can delete that cheap old TV and put whatever TV you want, or keep the cheap one and get a computer or whatever the case is. You can definitely add stuff to the starter home. That is another reason why I wanted to keep it as cheap as I did, just because, you know, then you have leftover simoleons to do what you want with. Add decorations, save it, build onto the house, build an extra story on the house, whatever it is you want to do, you could totally do it. And then also, this is a family starter home, so I wanted to add some family decorations, and so I am adding some like kids drawings and stuff onto the refrigerator, and I absolutely love doing that. I think it is so cute and a good like special touch when it comes to family homes. Very realistic to me. I also added that flower pot. It looks like a makeshift homemade flower pot with like popsicle sticks that are painted, probably from kids is what I would envision it as. And I put it in the parents' room, and I kind of thought, that is something that one of the kids made at school and gave it to mom and dad for whatever holiday, or maybe just because they love them, just they made it for mom and dad and they gave it to them. End of the story. And then I also just pulled out some random decorations from Debug that are free. That is something I love to do in a starter home. It definitely helps. Like Debug, they added Debug probably like 3-4 years ago now, and it was a lifesaver. I don't know how people created starter homes before Debug. I think I built maybe 1 or 2 before Debug came around, and it looked like a square box with barely anything on the inside. Like you couldn't afford anything. We are now starting to add decorations and furniture in the other bedrooms. So the kids that live here are a child, a toddler, and an infant, and then 2 parents. So actually this is a starter home for 5 Sims, and really you could fit 1 more if 1 other child shares that other bedroom that the infant is in. So that's pretty interesting. And then also in this room that I have the child and the toddler in, I ended up doing the loft bed for the child, and then I put the toddler bed under it, and that is something that I do not think I have done yet. And I love that they added that as a feature, that you could put a toddler bed under the loft bed. It just looks so cute to me. I don't know why, it just looks so adorable, and I love the idea that this family is actually getting too big to fit in this house, yet they're small enough to be able to fit in this house and make it work. So they had 1 too many kids than they had planned on, and now a couple of the kids have to share a room, and that just seems so realistic to me. And as far as the personalities go for these kids, I didn't really think much of it. I kind of just wanted to add what I could add in the starter home, and that's really about it. The child I was thinking is really into like hanging out and playing with his friends, and he has the aspiration of the Playtime Captain, I think is what it's called. It's from the Growing Together expansion pack, and he's just a really social kid, and he tries to build his skills as much as possible. I put a mental table in here as well as a desk. I was thinking that's like his homework desk. We didn't have money to put a computer there, but obviously if you have some extra money and you want the one and only computer in this whole house to be in the kids' room, so be it. And I also pulled out an axolotl and put that in his room as well. I absolutely love that axolotl. I think it is so cute. And then I put like a craft set on there, so it's kind of an imaginary craft table. I didn't actually put the craft table in the game in here, but that's only because I didn't fit it. It's not that I didn't want it in there, and plus we kind of ran out of simoleons, and I would rather put a set of monkey bars outside rather than more indoor stuff. And oh, actually it looks like I deleted that mental table, so I guess we just have that desk in there, and I do believe I end up adding a teddy bear in there as well. And I guess I forgot to put some toddler blocks, but that's totally fine. You guys could always add that. And I also put one of those like playmat grabby mat things for the infant in the living room, and that's just something that you could put the infant and let them hang out there for a little bit so that they're not just walking all over the house, or scooting all over the house, I should say. Okay guys, we are now outside of the build. The inside is done. I don't think there's anything else that I am really adding on the inside. Maybe some decorations here and there, but I'm pretty sure we're all done. We are now outside, and I am just putting down some terrain paint before I finish up the landscaping. And like I was saying earlier in this build, I went a little crazy on the landscaping at first, but then it just looked a little bit too busy to me, and I had to delete a pretty good portion of it. And so what you see now is pretty similar of how it's going to be in the end, but I do add some of those like long bushes with the white flowers on there. And oh, instead of white flowers, I do think I did purple just to be a little different, And so yeah, this is pretty much what the end product will end up being. And I also added a driveway in this build, which is something I absolutely love to do in my family homes, and really not even just family homes, like just my Sims builds in general. I love adding a car with a driveway in the front. It adds such a good realistic touch. I absolutely love it. And here are those bushes I was talking about. I do add some in the front as well, and they are the purple swatch, and I think they look so pretty, especially with the yellow color that I end up choosing for the house. And it matches, like, purple and yellow, they go so good with each other. Yellow is like one of those colors that you could put with almost anything and it would look good. Like, I'm trying to think of a color that it would not look good with yellow. So pink and yellow looks pretty, blue and yellow looks pretty, purple and yellow looks pretty. I mean, green and yellow, it's fine, it looks pretty. Brown and yellow looks pretty. Black and yellow, I mean, is there anything that doesn't go with yellow? I really don't think so. Maybe red and yellow is kind of questionable. I think I could make that work too though, especially if it has like a sunset vibe or like a fiery vibe to it. I think red and yellow could look good together. But yeah, yellow is like one of those universal colors that you really can't go wrong with. And now I'm pulling out some more flowers from the Debug catalog. I think these are from Cottage Living, and they're pretty, don't get me wrong, but I start adding a little bit too much and it looks so busy. Maybe if I kept it how it is right now and don't add like a yellow flower also, then it would probably be fine, but I don't know, there was something about it that looked off to me. And so once I put all of these out, I end up realizing how busy it looks, and then I end up deleting like a good portion of it, and I'm like, okay, yes, that does look better. And then I almost put some vines on the house as well. That is something I love to do on a house. I don't know, it just fills it up and makes it look good and like decorated and overgrown, which isn't ideal in real life, but in The Sims, for some reason, overgrown looks good to me. I don't know why. Except for this house. It just did not fit with this house, and since it's a starter home, I don't know, I wanted it to be relatively like clean. And so yeah, I end up just deleting everything I'm putting out right now is not gonna stay. Besides in the backyard, I do end up leaving a lot of like flowers in the backyard because it fit in the back, but I don't know, there's something about it in the front that just looked weird to me. And then I also pull out some of these grasses from Cottage Living, and I can't remember if I end up keeping that or not. I end up deleting that also, I believe. And I actually fiddled around with this landscaping for quite a while. So here in just a minute, I end up putting a transition there instead of you having to see me place and delete landscaping. I end up just putting the transition, and then it goes straight to the point of when I end up changing the color of the house and when I end up finally deleting the landscaping that I put. So just a little FYI in case you wonder if you missed anything during that transition. You totally didn't. It literally was just nonsense that you did not need to see. And something else that I did that's interesting with this build is that I ended up putting a side gate instead of like a gate to the front, if that makes sense. The reason why I did that is because there's a sidewalk on the side of the house, and if there's a sidewalk not only in the front but also on the side, then I love adding that extra gate on the side just so that they can exit off to the side of the house if they choose instead of always leaving in the front. And it adds like an extra detail that looks very realistic. It almost makes it look like it's meant to be like that sidewalk is there and this house is built as a corner house. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, that might have been what the Sims team was meaning for a lot like this, was that it's supposed to be like a corner house. I mean, that makes sense to me anyways. I don't know if it really was supposed to be that way, but yeah. We are now at the end of this build, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this build, and if you did, then please leave a like on this video as well as subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I hope you all have an amazing day or night wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all in the next one very soon. Bye, guys.